people, I hope you are having a good day. You've had food, water, everything you need to get done. We are going to be working on the Enderman farm. And I made the submarine work. I wanted to do a submarine Enderman farm. I had to rebuild it several times to get the thing I wanted. But we have made it. And let me get the stream music going. There we go. I have it very quiet. That or it's coming through my speakers. No, it just has a quiet intro. Okay. Thank you, this thing. I'm gonna... There we go. Just piss the mods. Just piss Pumpky. See if he's available. But we need to get several things done for the Enderman farm. There are several things that I can use to upgrade it. The first thing I can use to upgrade the Enderman farm, which I've already gotten, is the tridents. I still need beacons, the Tears music disc, and turtle shell helmets. I'm pretty sure I can make farms for all three of the things we need, though. Wither skellies are a little more annoying, but we have a biome that I should be able to make a farm in. And then we have a specific biome that spawns in a lot more gas than usual, so we're just going to build a little spawn platform there. And I did find a turtle farm. And I want to build it at the port as well, which is where Submarine is. So we're going to hop right in. I have been on all day. I have logged off once or twice. Let my computer cool down a little bit and to try and do a thumbnail. But look at my submarine, I love him. It took me way too long to get here. I redid the body multiple times. It used to be just a chunk. It used to be a really shitty chunk of tube. And then I said, no, let me redo it. And so I redid this whole thing, and then I had to go back and redo this ring, because I made it too big and realized, I don't like that, I need to redo it. But it works. And the pale moss was a last minute decision in order to spawn proof the top of it. Okay, come down here. There's pale moss down here too. But it does genuinely work. Although it is annoying when I get spawns that I don't need in here. But they don't try and teleport out, they don't do anything when they take damage. I've been testing this out quite a lot. I already have a stack and a half of pearls, which we're going to use to put the little endermite there, and I still need to get hoppers and such for that as well. So we have to run back home real quick. But I actually have everything I need for the other farms. I have them already collected and managed in the bundles. So all we need to do is craft to get some hoppers, get a minecart, and pop the little bad boy in. Also, item frames. I need item frames to upgrade these at all, as far as I'm aware. I'm pretty sure that's how the mod works. We're gonna find out. I'm pretty sure. And I almost positive we might be able to put up to 5 on one. One of them is just out of render, or just out of distance from the player. I think 2 of them are, actually. I'm just gonna put that on all of them. So it should run a lot more. But we need all the item frames. Do I have item frames at all? A couple. But I need quite a few more. We're getting... I'm only using 3 spawners. We're not using 4 anymore, so this makes this easier. I need to only do 3 beacons. So that means 12. 12 more. Because I'm also doing those guys now. Because I'm also doing the totems now. There we go. Oh. There we go. Perfect, perfect, perfect. And we get all the shit done. I still have the tridents in here. You know what? Because I'm only doing... I'm keeping that. That's mine now. That's my trident now. Did I ever get... I have a loyalty. Loyalty and Riptide don't work together. I'll deal with that at some point. Out, as per usual, over-collected. Absolutely everything. And I would like to have a backup backpack, so we're just gonna... Yep. Can I even... Nope. Well. We have shulker boxes now. I have plenty of shulker boxes now. Do I use them? No. I use the shitty drawers that I hate and I don't actually like. There we go. And then and all of these. And slowly drop off all the items I no longer need. Oh, in the middle of it, I ran from more sponge as well, because I had like, I think 11 pieces of sponge. And that's it. That's normal. And you are... Why are you down here then? You're supposed to be there. These things I'm gonna slowly collect up here. And I still need, I need more hoppers than that. There we go. I don't have minecarts apparently, but we can easily fix that one. Singular piece of glass that or no, little more than that. And sponge, you belong there, I guess. Gunpowder has its own spot. Every now and again, I do a random bout of adventuring, and that is the only thing fueling my gunpowder at the moment, and my rockets. Because I have still yet to make a gunpowder farm, or a sugarcane farm for that matter. I don't know what I'm gonna do with you. Probably eat it into this one. Also, I'm still slowly fixing the iron farm, and tweaking it here or there. Just to try and get things done, and try and make sure it's fixed. No! Not the streak, Billy Bob! Is it because I have something in my found? Yes, there we go. The streak is gone. Doink. We streamed Tuesday. 36-day streak, yeesh. Yeah, well, yeah. We had streamed Tuesday night as well. Hello, X! Welcome, welcome. That's what yep. I need the wood. This is a little too much. I don't need to make this many chests. I just need to make some, at least. I need to make some chests, makes this half a stack. And I need 21 more. 1, 2, 3. I don't need to be stealing from the iron farm. I have a backstock of my own iron. For some reason, my brain is just stuck on going here. Thank you, but Nightbot. Bye-bye, Billy Bob. Blink. What? My brain was not thinking correctly. It was not. For some reason I was thinking 3. Or, no, it wasn't even thinking that. I was thinking 1 piece of iron per no, I was thinking 3. My brain was stuck on 3. And we're gonna go with probably do 2 of these and then a quad for any excess items that get stuck in the storage that don't need to be. And chests, honestly, I'm looking through for them all the time. They're gonna get thrown in here. And now here's the fun of we need those items. We need to go get the beacon's tier music disc. Tier music disc is going to be first up because I just need to build a platform for that. This is the wrong backpack. That is the Turtle Farm backpack. This is the backpack I want. Doink. And I need the nether. So we're gonna do, and how are we gonna do this? The quartz flats, which are directly south of spawn, the quartz flats that are directly south of spawn have way more gas, and they naturally spawn there. So we're gonna build something on the roof. We have a lovely little roof portal right here. And this isn't too far off, so assuming I go directly south, eventually, not too long now, if I move down the chunks, we should be able to reach the not the dunes, and reach the quartz flats? Quartz flats, yes. Why do you still think it's Crimson Forest? This is... Oh, because it's Crimson Forest above it. Okay. Just a little bit farther. And now... Quartz flats! There we go. And now theoretically... I build a large-ass platform. We're gonna do 16 by 16. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And double check my work here. Just a little bit wrong. And then we're gonna build a second one 4 blocks above. Which should hopefully kinda somewhat entrap them. That should be just enough room for them to spawn. But also get stuck. Of course they could also spawn on top of this. Which would kinda make what I'm doing a little bit pointless. But it's the thought that counts. It's the thought. Now, how fast can I spawn place these? Spam place these. This is all completely theoretical. I still have no clue if this will work. I'm just assuming, based on other things I've seen, that this may or may not actually do what I'm intending it to do. And then here. This is why I have an elytra. Oh. You know, that's not what I was intending to do. But it worked. It did in fact work. I don't remember what caused it. I'm gonna have to pull this up. Because this was such a weird moment while I was building, and thankfully I was recording the entire thing because that flashback was being annoying and I'm not dealing with it right now. I need to get the video done. I took damage and I must have lagged or something because I ended up exploding a good 24 blocks up in the air. I'm gonna have to go back and see what the hell caused that and why. Because I have no clue. Not a thought in my mind as to why that would be. I'm so hoping this works. This better work. Well, they're certainly spawning below me. If I'm hearing gas cries. Honestly, I could have just gone down here and done it. Actually, ideally, is I take even more blocks, stand way up there, and then get them to spawn down here. That would be the most ideal scenario, which is what we're gonna have to do with the Wither Skelly farm as well. I'll have to make a AFK platform way up in the sky. Yeah. Oh, well. That would be why. Trying to think. Probably. Let me see what build height is, because I don't remember what it is. So we're just gonna go up to whatever build height it is. I think it's like 300 something now. And we're gonna see just what happens. We're gonna find out. Well, I'm getting skeletons to spawn. Did I just get a gas to spawn? Yes, I did! I haven't even done much. I was supposed to do more for that, but this works too. Thank you. Yeah, this is literally what I wanted to do. This is exactly why we did this. Okay, glad to know it works. Great. Oop. I'm gonna have to make this a proper farm at some point. Because gas music disc, and the reason we need it specifically, the tiers disc. Okay, 255. I should just make a gas farm in general, honestly. It's spawning a lot of skellies, though. That is a problem. It's just spawning a lot of them. We can upgrade our spawners, and I have mentioned this. I can't remember exactly what the tiers music disc does. The tiers music disc increases the number of spawned mobs, and that's probably one of the more important ones. You can do a bunch of the same modules, so you could have 4 music discs on one spawner, which would increase it to 16 spawn. Oh, hold on. Increase it to 16 spawns. I'm choosing to do 1 disc. Come on. There we go. Thank you. At least it seems like it's a consistent thing that it does. Come on. I just need... This is unfair. You're flying. That's not nice. I know I could fly too, but still rude. Okay, you're not playing fair. You're supposed to be stuck down there. That's why it's a giant platform down there. That's why we did it. No, that didn't count. There's so many skeletons. And there's already another guy. No, 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 no. No, no, no. Come on. Do it again. Do it again, please. Yeah, said no. It's just like, nah, not allowed. No. I ain't playing your rules. There we go. We've already got it done. Alright, goodbye, everybody. Have a great time. Alright, let me see what the other ones do. The Trident decreases the spawn delay. so it will spawn more often. The Totem of Undying increases the player distance, which is usually like 16 blocks. It extends at 32. And Eternal Helmet lowers the HP. The Beacon also increases the spawn range. Oh, right, they did this incorrectly. The Beacon decreases the spawn range of the spawner, so you don't have to excavate out as much area. You can also do a Creeper Banner pattern, which makes the spawned mobs have 0 AI. So it'll be completely just automated. So I'm choosing to go for most of those except the Creeper AI, because I do need the Enderman to walk over and actually come over to the kill chamber. I'm assuming this is not correct. Probably this one. Yep. Actually, what am I doing? We need to go over to... I don't know where the biome... Oh, you know what? Hold on. I should still have it, yes. Withered Forest. That's what it is. 800 this way. Fine. We can do that. Enderman, there's not really a good way to cart them around as far as spawners go, because they're going to take damage from lava and they're going to take damage from water. So you have to rely on the Endermite strategy, or just simply using the player themselves. But Endermite is usually the best way to go. So I need their AI to actually be working. I could do Creeper Banner patterns for my own personal XP farm, but I'd much rather have other stats. Withered Forest, there we go, now we're in one. And let me take... Oop. This means I don't have nearly as much stone as I'd want, but I'm probably over-collected anyway, so it's fine. This is going to be the more important one. The Withered Forest naturally spawns in wither skeletons. So theoretically, if I build something akin to a traditional mob farm, we're gonna get a good spawner out of this. And I'm just gonna build what I built last season in the main base before I upgraded it to just be a normal spawner farm. So we're gonna do to make this nice and easy. We'll do this. And then I could just have these all like so. And I always have to have an extra one just in case it's being a weirdo. Or is there a better way I can organize this out, or just... Oh wait, I know I could do it. We could just... There we go. And now you have a nice little spot. And warp trap doors, because that's what I had on hand, and they're fireproof, so I don't have to worry about anything. And we want these guys to get stuck down here, so we're going to go up 2. If I literally went back just like 2 or 3 years, this would be so crazy to myself that I'm doing this. Because it's a fairly recent thing that I've gotten into doing a bunch of farms. And to the point where I could actually just, like, spitball a farm as well. I'd assume lava also stretches the 8, right? Or does it only stretch 6? I'm not sure. I swore it was a full 8, but maybe not. I shouldn't need to make a lot of layers for this either. And it shouldn't need a roof either, because we don't have to worry about that. We just need a solid area for everything to spawn. How far? How far do you go? That far. Okay. So I need more fireproof strategies because you are awkward. I mean, I do have enough lava buckets. It's not a worry. We're just gonna... We'll do that. Because I imagine if I do this, is it gonna go? Or is it gonna make it just that single one it won't? Yeah. I brought 16, so it should be fine. I'm not too worried. So it is still late. I don't have any more stone. But just a good old-fashioned farm. And hopefully, we can get quite a few wither skulls out of this, with the bonus of bones and coal as well. There's quite a few goods coming out of me making this farm. It's going to be slightly annoying, because I have to use more blocks, because I do need this to be 3 tall for the wither skellies to spawn. And it will have the side product of whatever else spawns in this biome, but it should still be pretty good. And there's not, I don't have to do a whole lot. There is the heavy bonus between both of these, the other one's not really a farm, but both of these farms, that they're made inside of modded biomes that are specifically geared towards the things I need. So a lot of the issues of, like, say, a creeper farm and having to place a million trapdoors, don't gotta worry about it. Not a problem. Or making a spider farm, where you have to deal with a bunch of carpet. Yeah, no, that's a creeper farm. Creeper farm, you have to place particular carpet in order to stop the bed boys from spawning. How do you make a normal spider farm? Is it just literally you build it 1 block tall? Probably. I want to learn, I want to do a playthrough. I would love to do like a old-fashioned skyblock playthrough. Not the 1 block, not the, oh, here's everything and you just build over. No, old-fashioned skyblock. Genuinely, it would be fun. To me. To me, anyhow. That is not what I was trying to do. And I feel like the only reason I'm seriously interested in doing that, the #1 reason anyhow, is I want to see how many farms I can just spitball off the top of my head and make in that sort of setting, in just like a completely vanilla skyblock setting. And if my building skills can still hold up with such a limited palette. Because Wandering Trader can definitely help expand, but it's a matter of getting villagers at all, or getting anything at all, because, you know, at Skyblock, you're not going to be able to do a whole much with that. Oh, this does still kind of rely on they need to leave the space and walk out into the space, but whatever. I don't think there's anything in particular that angers them aside from the player themselves. So they still have to walk off on their own, but otherwise. Is there anything that angers a Wither Skelly? I know turtle eggs anger piglins for some reason. I don't know why that's the case, but it is. So I can't really think of anything that angers the Wither Skellies that they specifically go after, like Endermen and Endermites. Or like zombies and villagers, etc. I should have enough stone, we may be able to get away with another layer. Heavy maybe. Because it takes a lot to build up these walls. Or build up the floor and the walls. We will see about that. At the very least, 2 levels is far from horrid. And there'll probably be even more spawning on these walls now that it comes to mind. But whatever, it's fine. I'm not seeking the most absolutely amazing farm in the world. I'm seeking something that functions. If I want to pioneer a Wither Skelly farm for Incendium, I could figure that out later. Right now, I just need this to work. I did not do as much work as I should have this week. I've had such low energy levels. I'm still currently bedrotting like the first 4 hours of my day, which is not good in the slightest. Granted, I wake up early, so I can have that time to exist by myself for a bit, but it extends past that. I will still be happy I got like the half hour done of edit. I got my editing done today and it took a half hour. And I did that, but I should have started recording or doing anything else or going to the library like I was supposed to today, but I didn't do any of that. Yeah, we should have just enough for another platform and a little bit of wall to support it. But we will see. We will see. We get the best done with what we can. I did a cute little doodle of Mew earlier, because I'm like, okay, I just need to get myself to literally do anything. So I just did a cute doodle of him being creature. There we go, it's the boy. It's just a boy. There we go! It's the boy. He exists. A bee cutie pie. Also, goddamn, I'm probably gonna end up staying up late. My room is incredibly warm. It's been a warm day. And then I've been playing and recording. I've had OBS running for the past, like, 5-6 hours. Hello, Bookish. How are you? Thank you for cranberry. We are making a Wither Skelly farm. I have just enough. We should be able to do a 2 tall wall, which should keep them all in. Hopefully, maybe. I'm gonna prioritize making a wall on this end first. I should have enough to do all of it. Probably even maybe start a 3rd row, layer. Yeah, it would be row. That's fine. That's correct wording. Is good wordage. Thank you, Nightbot. Yeah, we're fine. We're fine. I had more than enough. This is more than I expected to get done. We're fine. Is that perfect? Oh, that's satisfying. Okay, I'm very pleased. I am very, very pleased. I am missing a little bit of lava, but it is fine. We can always run for more. I do need to run for more blocks, because I forgot to leave blocks so we could make a spawn platform in the sky. I didn't prepare for that at all. So that is a problem. I need unamas. I left so much more stone. Oh my god. I forgot I left all of that. Okay. How many more rows can I actually make then? Because I would love to find out, genuinely. Three up to here. Yeah. Also, let it be known, I have no idea if this will actually work. Much like the gas farm from like 2 seconds ago, I have no idea if this will work. This is still completely theoretical. But I imagine this is typically how farms work. I see no reason why they would spawn proof against it, it should be fine. There's no reason it should not. I'm gonna just do that preemptively. Leave a couple stacks. So I can still be able to build up after. I shouldn't need that many stacks. Because I'd even use a full, like, 2 or 3 that I had prior. I can't see very well, but we make do. Whoop. Honestly, that's my #1 use of the elytra. Like, I do use it for traveling, but still, my #1 use of the elytra is literally just to fly the small little gap because I can't jump that high. That is still the #1 way I use it. I just bunny hop around with it. It's simply another mode of walking for me. One, two, three. And then we spam click the hell out of this. I prepared for this on the PS3 over 10 years ago. Actually, yeah, I could say over 10 years ago. It's been 10 years. I started really getting into Minecraft and playing Minecraft. I got my PS3 in 2015. I still have a lot of the worlds from that. It occurs to me I didn't need to do this, bro. And that's a waste of stone. Oh, that's another use of the elytra that I do. It's just crawling into little spaces that I need to get into. If I showed myself back in 2015 what I was doing now, it'd blow their goddamn mind. I don't know if I've ever talked to... when I was really freaking little, did in fact record shitty YouTube videos, shitty Minecraft YouTube videos, straight up, and post them on YouTube on my tablet, completely unedited, of me and my cousin playing the Minecraft minigames. Split screen and everything, tablet falling over in the middle of it. I still use... the videos aren't up anymore, but I still use that personal account, and it's still sitting at like the 6 odd... I don't know how I got subscribers. It's still sitting at the 6 odd subscribers that it somehow gained from that. And I have no idea who, why, what, when, how that occurred. But it did. And I still think it's so fun. I don't know who was interested in that, but I guess. Cool. Thanks. And then I completely ignored the idea of making content for YouTube for a long ass time. And then started randomly streaming one day and then just stuck with it. Yep. I blow Little Me's mind though. Little Me ran around mining mountains with stone pickaxes. Gleefully spending afternoons doing nothing but that and build ridiculously large structures in creative, which I still have some photos of. I don't have the worlds anymore. That actually might be a lie. I have to check. I might still have the world of one specific one I'm thinking of. Heavy might on that, though. But I do have pictures if I do not have the world. I know for a fact I have one of the worlds that has my favorite build ever, which is the first thing I made or remade on Passion SMP. Back in the Season 1. Because I had this big dirt structure. Technically, I'm reliving this structure again. I've been reliving this structure the entire time I've been playing Passion SMP. This structure I made, and it's still my favorite build today, was just, I built a bunch of rooms in a mountain. Just it's completely made out of dirt and cobblestone. I had specific plans like, oh, this is going to be this thing, this is going to be a bedroom. Hey, wither skellies is spawning. So that's a good sign. but it was just completely like modular little rooms. And I adore the hell out of it. And that was that's the thing I did, although heavily planned and premeditated in season 1, and I sort of redid it, but more structured in season 2 with my modular mega base that I just copy pasted the rooms and then did interior. And now I'm doing it, but far more whimsically in this season. So I can't go super high up, it's 255, right? But... Oh, no. Yeah, 255, there we go. I'm standing on 256, but whatever. So we got one guy to spawn. He probably spawned on top of this stuff. Oh, two guys. Pardon. Hey, boop. Hey, boop. And I think it's this one that I threw. Yes, the lock. So we can do... We're gonna put... You know, we'll do this. Boop. 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 Lock, lock, lock. Lock, lock, lock. There we go. And then... Boop. 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 Excuse. You suck. And then when we start getting wither skulls, I can pop them in here. Actually, let me take one of these and lock it. Do that. There we go. No, I did not want to do that. Thank you. And then not this backpack, that. I do need to put... That's the wrong one. There's a reason you're color organized! So I never lose which one I'm on. Would it be faster? No, it would not. Sure, buddy? You got this? Yeah? Yeah, you want to try again? Yeah, poor thing. Oh, the poor things. He tried. He really did. He didn't do very well at it, though. He did not. Oh, perfect. Satisfying. So now this one's basically empty as well. Fantastic. Not being used for this farm, but it's better if I just be concise about my inventory. I do still need to run and get more lava though. And hopefully this is enough. That is the other thing. That is in fact the other thing. I thought I just gotta do this fun roundabout way though. Like, this is not a diss or hit at anybody. I gotta love the roundabout way. I'm in the nether, but I have to go out of the nether and into a different portal, and then back into the nether in order to get into the nether. Sir? Thank you. And then we come over here, and then I could actually go into the nether. And we could run down here and I could steal a bunch of stuff. You know what? Just in cases, I'm gonna use my usual water buckets as well. Pretty please. There we go. And I do have enough inventory. Great. And then we gotta redo that again. Because of course I do. Spoon. God Gotta love all the lag. Always. All the time. I love the little tiny tower that is that thing as well. I'm gonna have to go back and like upgrade that a bunch so that's way more efficient and far better. I'm gonna have to make a few barricades on the side so the gas can't get out, but you can hit them and walk in and out. Probably put it on magma. Magma with a minecart underneath it, perhaps? Maybe? So you don't have to go in it at all, and it'll kill anything that does spawn in that's not supposed to. Which shouldn't kill the gas, as far as I'm aware. I'm in danger. How we're gonna do this is we're just gonna... skills. Now that was skills. Boop, boop, boop. I'm probably definitely gonna have leftover buckets, but whatever. I would much rather be prepared than not. As you can tell from this backpack. I don't even know if I'm gonna use all that. I just brought all that. Because why not? It's not like it's added on carry weight. Oh, I would have had 2 extra. Okay. We're gonna do boop, 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 boop. Which will let me do that. And then we can mow that. Nice. And now theoretically, all I need to do is stand here, and it'll start to spawn wither skellies. But that might be a long-term experiment. Do I have any stone? Yes, I did have a little bit of stone left over. Probably a little useless, but I'm gonna do this so they don't spawn here. I know it's gonna make them spawn on the stone instead, but whatever. This is what it is. Actually, I'd much rather be able to see the hoppers, and then be able to access them if I need. There we go. And let me double check all of y'all's working. Yep. Well, it's spawning phantoms. Is doing that. But it's not doing a whole lot else right now. Buddy, no. No. There you go. Where? Was that just one final dying screech? Okay, it's spawning a lot of I missed that entire wall. It's spawning a lot of phantoms. But no wither skellies. The only wither skellies I got spawned were down below for some reason. And not in the intended spot that I wanted them to be. Oh. Wait, I can't do that one. Perfect. Oh, I love when it does that. Perfect. Okay, but why isn't it spawning? I don't know why I did that. Why is it not spawning any wither skellies anymore? You're spawning plenty of phantoms, and I guess that's a thing. That's a cool thing to know. You're spawning the other things from the withered forest. You're spawning little soul guys that are just actually redone Vexes. But you're not spawning any wither skellies. Do they not spawn on stone? Do I need to replace this with black stone? Do I need to redo parts of the farm to make this work? Probably. At least, like, the phantoms just spawn in and then despawn pretty fast. So I'm gonna have to come back to this. Why is that? I missed a single piece of lava there. Okay, whatever. I'm gonna have to come back to that and see what I need to redo. Actually, we can do this. Is there specific blocks that they spawn on? Minecraft wiki. Wither skeleton. Spawning. Light level between 0 and 7. In groups of 5. So it could absolutely be the light level from the lava causing it. So it might be better if I don't have any lava. In the structure bounding box of any single piece of the nether fortress, they could spawn on any block. In the larger area bounding box of the entire nether fortress, they can spawn exclusively on nether bricks. But we have them spawning in anyway, so I'm gonna safely assume... Why did I hear piglin retreat sound effect? I'm gonna safely assume it's because of the light level of the lava. So I think this would literally be better if I got rid of all the lava. Oh, you suck so much. Just poor timing. The lava would definitely be way too much for them. It does make this slightly more annoying because I have to fully rely on them just walking off into it. But if that's what I need to make the farm work at all, then that's what I'm gonna do. Because even just having the one block in here, I'm pretty sure that's the wrong button. This one. I can't see light levels because I don't have better F3 and I have yet to add it. Well. I'll steal this block for but a moment. If I switch between the layers, I should be able to see inside the farm. Thinks that's blackstone. Stone. It doesn't tell me the light level, it just tells me layer. I'm gonna safely assume that is probably the answer. Oop. Nope. Just completely missed it. This is a cute little animation. That's adorable. I'm definitely gonna have to make a safe way to AFK up here, though. Ooh, nice. Now, I see the little soul guys spawning in and out. Spawning, despawning. Phantom, soul guy. Wither Skelly, there we go. And we already have one down here. So it's absolutely the light level. Yeah. Is there anything that angers them? Behavior hostile. I mean, I guess I could use myself a little bit. But there's not particularly anything. They sprint to attack players' iron golems, baby turtles, piglins, and piglin broods. I think I know what we can do. Let's get these guys, the ones that are here. What did you despawn? And the guy despawned. This is definitely a slow-going thing, but whatever. Hey, oh. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to set up some guys in the corner. I wonder if there's a way I could do this specifically. I might just have to go have a bunch of stuff spawn and then go to the lairs myself for a little bit. But this is something I can absolutely fix within the next 24 hours and have this done and ready in the next 48 for the next stream. Okay, that's all the only guys. Got it. And then throw that in, and then it throws it into there. Nice. So we'll come back to that. I'm not going to worry about it too much. The baby farm the baby turtle farm for the scoots, for my turtle helmets. I have a whole design I want to build, and that's honestly a thing I just want to do drone away at off camera. Well, not off camera. Something I want to just drone away at in recording and not worry about too much. So I think we're at a point where we can just chill out and hang out with some Skyrim. I've been really enjoying it as a way to wind down after the day, even if it may perhaps be just a little bit, just a tiny bit laggy. But it is a way I've been enjoying doing my days. So we're gonna go do that. I do have a bunch of shit in here. Oh, yes, yeah. That is from the sponges. That's all gonna get put right there. I need to do the Endermite. We still need to do the mite. I haven't done the mite. I haven't done, like, the important part of the Enderman farm, so the Enderman farm actually works. That's kind of necessary. I don't think... No, I do have an anvil. Good. Good. Alright, it's like Truffle's the 9th now. That'd be like V... Wouldn't that be IX? I think it's the 9th. That sounds about right. And temporarily we're gonna... bring these bad boys back down. So I can do this without the Enderman being up my butt about it. Thank you. Because I don't need y'all here right now, actually. I don't need you here either. We gonna put a random drawer and do a little bit of this. Oh, it's just gonna be there no matter what. Lovely. Okay. But. I should have probably brought... I don't have anything. Should have brought some more carpet with me. I did not. Oh well. Do I have stuff in here that I could use? I have a shit ton of trapdoors. We're using trapdoors. And trapdoors are just the way to go. And just the easy thing to do. I do need building blocks, actually, for just a second. And I have unfortunately built directly on top of where I'm putting this stupid thing. This is gonna be so much fun. This rail better go the way I want it to. Please. Thank you. Minecart's gonna go last. I'm gonna keep a bunch of golden apples on me just in case. I need to turn off. I love the first person. I need to turn it off so I can make sure I do this correctly. How do I want to get out? I'm gonna steal this trapdoor. Come on. Pretty please. We just want to meet you, Chuffles. We just want to hang out. I won't let anything happen to you this time, Chuffles. I promise. No one's gonna hurt. Can you get hurt right there? No one's gonna... You might get hurt right there. Scratch that. You may very well get hurt where I have you right now. You could absolutely get hurt in the spot. I am so wrong. So I need him right here. So we're just gonna move him up a block. And I'm gonna have to figure out how I can redo this area. So I can do this. This should be fine to be where it is. I am trying to figure out all the things. But this is a struggle. Theoretically, I shouldn't need to move too much. I don't have the blocks to replace this. I put them all away. I need a block right there, though. Damn it. Lovely. I love that. I love that. I love that so very much. So much. Why is my mic no longer working? Why is the mic not working? Or is it just OBS being silly? It's OBS being silly. Okay, good. It wasn't actually acting for a second. Yippee, fun time for me. Hello, Billy Bob. Welcome back. We're getting a little Endermite done. And then some Skyrim time. But I need to replace a bunch of stuff for Endermite. My power went out. Oh, geez. You good? You safe? Oh, I used literally my last piece. Right. I used literally the last piece of the mesh stuff. There we go. And we're just gonna grab a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that, and this. Just in case. Yeah, oh, thank you. Oop. Oh, finally, the rain's gone. Nice. Also gotta make... I think I'm just gonna do a straight walk platform probably for this. I think that's gonna be the best thing to do. I liked the little staircase thing I had going. I'm probably just gonna need to do a pretty straight platform. Giant storm? Jeez. I wish you the best. Stay safe. It's gotta be at least... This is safe for humans. 4, 5. I might be able to do 1, 2, 3, 4. I could do... Oh, well, yeah, that is right there where I need to be. Getting off. Alright, bye-bye. Be safe, Bitty Bub. Put that right there. Oh, but then you can't walk in there, so I do need to have this like this. So how do I wish to approach this? And that's gonna make this annoying, so I'm thinking go 2 of this and do that. And then 2 of this. Maybe not really. Well, there I go. How should one approach the thing I am trying to do? Probably this. We could do that. There we go, that's a consistent pattern. And then boop. We're gonna do ones on top as well. Boop, boop. And then be slightly into the trapdoor so I could do that. Beautiful. I almost want to keep that because that's a cool kind of design going. But it would probably be better if just a little bit less trapdoor. Like that. It's a little awkward though. Yeah, it is just a tiny bit awkward. I feel like it'd probably look better if I did this. So now it starts to make sense, kind of. Or I could have it bracketing, is what I should do. Whoop. Well. Excuse me? Trying to do a thing, you're being very annoying about it. I'll do. Nice. Put 2 more right here. Which should make this a nice, mostly safe walkway. There we go. It is a little annoying at some parts where you kind of bonk your head a little bit, but that's fine. Piss is safe. That's what matters. Alright, and back to lovely, lovely Truffles. Mike. What? What did you... Oh, okay. That would be why. Chestplate. Apple. Pearl. Name tag. And failure. Lots of failure. Oh! Oh! What? I thought those were the particles of one that spawned. This was not. That was just teleportation particles. Yep. Lovely. Should probably do something like this, so I don't know. We'll figure it out if it comes. My mind's trying to go over, like, if I accidentally get it out of the spot and I need to get it back into this area. Come on. Am I gonna literally go through every single one of these? Oh, let me check something. I want to double check that I'm not being a dum-dum. Spawning 5% chance to spawn when a player throws a player thrown ender pearl lands. They spawn at player's original position where the pearl lands, or at the player's pearl's landing site. Okay. I wanted to just double check that it was not because the server's on easy mode. It's just a really low chance. Lovely. I'm gonna literally go through all of these. We had over a stack. I had a stack and a half of pearls, and I'm gonna use every single one of these. I'm gonna try doing it up here and see if there's any difference. Because they should be able to, they just spawn where you throw the pearl. Yeah. So it shouldn't be any different. No, 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 no. No! Okay, Choffle's the 10th. Goddamn thorns. I literally got far enough away, too. Two more. Okay, don't. Okay. Come on. Get in the minecart. Get in the minecart. Move in the minecart. Taking a bunch of unnecessary damage. I'm gonna pop a totem to very, very stupid shenanigans. Because I'm trying not to kill poor Choffles. Is Choffles still sitting there? What happened to Choffles? Hello, Pumpkin. What happened to Choffles? Did he get in the minecart? Or did he despawn even though I name tagged him? Or did he die at some point, somehow? Because if Choffles died during all... Did Choffles die during all that? Yeah, Choffles died during all that somehow. Lovely. I think I need to make a bigger space for this. So I can, like, move the minecart onto him. Hi, buddy. Goodbye. Okay. Place that back. I have literally one pearl left as well. So it shuffles the 11th. We do that so we can easily get back out again. Come on. Help. Alright, we gotta do a bit of this the old-fashioned way. Get that back, please. Thank you. Naturally spawned Enderman here. Great. We love to see it. Thanks so much, random creeper. Get out. No, not the name tag. Get out of here, thank you. Give me my planks. Oh, cause I need... need to make another one of these. Do I have... Yes. I'll make another one for that. I need to redo these hoppers, because otherwise it's gonna completely mess up the entire system. I need to do it like that. So that when I throw one item in, it will always go between the lot of them. Okay, everybody, everyone, thank you. I need your pearls. At least this is a very good test of the farm. I think the only place they can teleport to is like within the farm itself. I am fairly positive. Does it not pick up? Okay. Then I will leave that one uncovered. Hello. Why there? No, they did manage to get up here. How did you guys get up there? How did you manage that? It's spawn-proofed. So how did you manage that? How did you do that thing that you should not be able to do? How did you do that? It's spawn-proof, boys. Yeah, you want to talk about it? You want to talk about it? I'm gonna screenshot that. You want to talk about it? This is how it feels to be Pennywise, just... Hello! They don't teleport away after that. But I don't know how they're teleporting up here in the first place. They're cheating their own rules to get up there. I'm gonna do this. There's another boy up there. If I click, I think it's F10, I have control of my character. Am I even looking at the right thing? Yeah, I'm doing the right... Okay, I guess I can't attack anything or use anything. No, I can hit, it's just... Okay, whatever. But why are people getting up there, and how? I mean, I guess it could be... Oh, there is a spot all the way over there. Yeah, that is. I guess it could be, like, the trapdoors or the slabs. I guess that is a way they can. Yeah, that guy just teleported backward a little bit. So I don't know what the rest of them are doing. Give me that. I should actually use this thing I can do boop, lock drawer, take that back, boop, lock drawer, take that back. Okay, everybody. You had your fun. I'm out. I heard them teleport again. Probably just out of the way. Yeah, it seems like it was just out of the way of the arrows. I'm amazed I didn't hit the Enderman in that. Last call. Boop, boop. Doinkus. Hey, buddy, where are you going? No, you're part of this too. Thank you. So we have almost a stack of pearls again. $48 pearls to work with. It better happen. I'm gonna be real miffed if it don't. Yes, I did place this again. Okay. What did I... Name tag. You can't name tag them when they're... It's because I have something else in my hand? Can't name tag them when they're in the minecart. Okay, now I need to grab the minecart. Give me... There we go. Minecart acquired. Now the problem is... getting him in the minecart. Can you walk this way, Truffles? Or can I just... Alright. I don't know how you're doing what you're doing. Truffles! What did you get thorns? Oh, I still have my helmet on. What are you doing, Truffles? There we go. Okay. So we place block here. And then we move the minecart back to its spot. Okay. I'm not gonna put my armor back on until I'm sure this guy's safe. Okay. Pick that up, whatever that was. And replace all the things that I need to replace. Truffles is name tagged, and then the minecart. We should be all fine, all good to go. There should be no reason for him to be able to attack me and get hit by the thorns for whatever reason. So I should be able to go down here and place these on. And they go after Truffles! While I clean up the other bad boys that don't need to be in here at all. Did they kill him? Did you frickin' reach Truffles again? No, Truffles is alive. Truffles is alive and fine. We're good. We're good. Okay, we're fine. We're A-okay. You see Truffles, they get mad at Truffles, then they sit right there. Beautiful! It's pausing my Minecraft parodies again. Let me listen to my Minecraft parodies. Thank you. If I stand here, we activate all of them. It's a little too far for these guys to see Truffles. That sucks. Unless you actually manage to kill Truffles, but no, he's vibing. He's chilling. Oh, no, people are... Everyone from this spawner is seeing Truffles. The rest of them aren't. The rest of them just do... Oh, that guy did. I don't know why that guy did, but none of these guys are. That's a good question. Yeah, those guys are? Okay, so it's like this threshold. If they wander... Or maybe like right here. If they wander past this, then they can see Truffles. But that is fantastic. That is exactly how I needed the farm to work. So we did it. We literally just did it. These guys are stuck a little bit. That's fine. I could discourage it with a water bucket. Possibly. Excuse me, everyone. Because this is long enough, I think I could get away with a water bucket and it won't trickle to the rest of the farm. It'll stop about here. Yeah. But it gets them out to the point where they see the Endermite. And they can't teleport anywhere else. I'm confirming this now. I say this guy teleports in front of me. What spots are you guys finding that I haven't carpeted? I carpeted all of this. I don't know. Honestly, what I need to occur here, more than anything else, is the threshold of about... You know what, we're gonna go... About right here is usually when they can't see. And then refills. There we go. Which will allow me to also do this. And allow me to essentially spawn-proof these little blocks that are just out of range. And allow it to be a consistently working farm. Where we got all the bad boys stuck over here. So technically the Enderman farm is absolutely up and running now. Very loudly so. It's a shame we don't need pearls for anything. Maybe I should make a mini game with them somehow. I know I have big plans for Floor's Lava. I'm absolutely bringing that back this season. That's gorgeous. I'm so proud of that. I do want to confirm that it's not just a max of like 4 items. I have no idea if I can. We can at least add these little upgrades. I have no idea if I can put a full 5 items on it. What I'm hoping is I can. Oh, did I look at you? Me specifically. Yes, okay, perfect. That is exactly how that's meant to work. Cool. Boop. Boop. Where are you guys teleporting to? And I'm hoping that it'll still work underneath the spawner as well. I have no idea if it will. It is merely... It works! y'all move? That'd be great. Okay. Why do I have 2 extra item frames? These 2 spots. Okay. So theoretically, you can put 6 on them. That's not the best choice. But now, all of those spawners are working with me standing right here. So we no longer need that AFK area up there. It is there, but you don't need to stand there. It is the safer option. It is the safer option to stand up there, because other mobs can still spawn down here. But... Oh, there is a little XP that gets stuck back there, huh? And y'all stop for like 2 seconds. So I can fix the farm real quick. Because XP do just be getting stuck back there. Also, it's going to be a lot easier once we have the turtle helmets as well, which will lower their HP. I have like 2 seconds to just fix up this farm a little bit. Yeah, everybody, can you just calm down for a second? Please. Thank you. 2 seconds. Can I have... but 2 seconds. How did you get on this side? I can imagine... it's probably that spot, but also, no. You should not be able to oh so casually teleport behind me. This is not an anime meme moment. This is a Minecraft farm. Here we go. Just wanted 1 moment to do that. Take those back. Put that back as well. Here. We already have quite a few pearls going on in here as well. Beautiful. And this is back to being a junk backpack. I am very pleased by that. There it goes. Every now and again, I think they just take a minute sometimes to notice Choffles. But Choffles is doing his goddamn job. And I am very pleased. Okay, so just one of you is up here because you're angry with me. Can you stop? Thank you. Okay, why are we all up here though? How many of you? How many are there? What is it? I need to find what's going on up here because this should not be occurring at the scale that it is. I'm gonna have to find out what's wrong. Because all of these have carpet on top of them. The only things that don't are these. So I'm gonna assume I probably just need to put carpet on top of it or something. Yeah. I probably just need to add some more carpet. How are you all the way over here? You shouldn't have... Okay, you could have absolutely walked over here. That is the thing. Just get back in the water. Thanks. How did you teleport over there? All of that's carpeted, except for these, but you didn't teleport to there and then teleport to here. You just teleported over. I don't understand. But I'm not going to worry about it right now. That's not what I'm worrying about. I'm not worrying about you either. I'm going to deal with that another day. There's something... I was thinking... I'm gonna put myself back in my base. Because I still need to fix up the wither farm tomorrow. and deal with the baby turtles. And deal with all the scoots. But that's a tomorrow thing. We still got a good hour-ish. It's all. Oh, jeez, it's already that late. Did I? That time don't add up. I didn't start stream that late. I was only a few minutes. What the fuck? OBS isn't telling me the correct stream time, that's why. Yeah, it thinks it's an hour and 9. I'm going to safely assume it has not been an hour and 9, because it's currently 8:30 p.m. An hour and a half after I started stream. Mute tab. Yeah, okay, we got a half hour we can